You push away the biggest draw you've got and you find out what the market looks like without her. It wasn't a gentle dip, it was a nosedive, the kind that turns chest thumping into awkward silence. For months, everyone kept saying the wave was real, the momentum was permanent, the league was bigger than any one player. Then the player stepped off the stage, and the lights dimmed in real time. That's not hate, that's economics. Here's the picture, as clean as it gets. Last summer's All-Star Showcase was a national moment. It felt like a festival. It delivered a ratings high built around a phenomenon, who had people who never watched a WNBA quarter suddenly leaving dinner early to get home by tip. This year's All-Star Game still looked big on paper, but you could feel the punch missing. The average came in a full rung below the year before. Second best ever isn't bad, but the distance between record and runner-up is exactly the distance between a star in uniform and a star in street clothes. That's the part people are arguing about online without saying out loud. The floor is higher than ever, but the ceiling left the building with one name. The market didn't whisper, it screamed. Secondary ticket prices for the biggest regular season scenes went from "how much" to "please just take them in hours." One primo meeting that was supposed to be an event had a get-in number around $80+ before the injury news, then crashed into the mid-20s right after. That's not a casual adjustment, that's the balloon popping. On the TV side, it was the same story with the volume turned down. A marquee team that had been drawing easy seven figures on big platforms suddenly fell into the mid-hundreds of thousands when the headliner sat. League-wide national windows that rode the rocket all spring slid by double digits the moment availability disappeared. If you followed this stuff, you didn't need a spreadsheet to tell you what you were seeing. The building felt different, the broadcast sounded flatter, social feeds got quieter. The casual audience did exactly what casual audiences always do. They followed the person who made them stop and pay attention. When that person wasn't there, they moved on. None of this is mysterious. It's how every entertainment business works. Movies lead with the star on the poster, not the cinematographer. Music leads with the single, not track 9 that only the diehards know. A league can say we're more than one player, and it should. But the daily sales report still tells you who's moving product. You don't shame the customers for that. You serve them. You welcome them. You use the star as the doorway and then invite them to meet everyone else in the house. Instead, a strange tone crept into the discourse this year. You heard it from certain corners of media. You heard it from a handful of players and personalities who should have known better. The message was something like, if you're only here for her, you're not a real fan. That's a great way to turn tourists into ghosts. In sports, tourists are gold. They're the people who become locals if you treat them right. They bring their friends. They buy the jersey after the second game they watch. They get curious and then they get invested. But they only stick around if the experience feels welcoming and the main event delivers. If the vibe is gatekeeping and the main event vanishes, they'll bail, fast. That's exactly what the numbers showed when the injury news hit. And that injury news turned into a saga. First, it was a nagging issue that you figured would be a one-week thing. Then it lingered. Then the All-Star decision came. Then the rehab setback whispers came. By the time everyone realized there wasn't a firm timeline for a return, it wasn't just a roster problem, it was a programming problem. Networks plan around tentpoles, arena ops plan around traffic, sponsors plan around segments, families plan around a Saturday night that suddenly doesn't make sense anymore if the person their kids came to see isn't going to play. That's how a single player's status becomes a league-wide temperature check. It would be easy to say, well, if the product were good enough, it wouldn't matter. That's a nice slogan, but it ignores the obvious. This product has been good in stretches. Excellent. New York has played gorgeous, disciplined basketball. Other teams have put together runs that any hoop head can appreciate. There have been genuine high-level moments every week. The issue isn't whether the sport is watchable, it's whether the story is irresistible to people who don't already watch. That's where stars matter, their translation. They turn good basketball into, I can't miss this. That's also why the officiating conversation exploded. No one is asking for bubble wrap. No one wants a whistle parade that kills the flow. But the league has a duty to police the extra stuff that takes your best ball handlers and shooters and turns them into crash test dummies. Too many bumps off the line, too many late hits disguised as physicality, too many high-contact plays where everyone at home goes oof and then nothing happens. When viewers see big names absorbing that repeatedly, they stop debating nuance and start asking one simple question: why is nobody protecting the stars? Fair or not, perception becomes reality very fast in the attention economy. If the perception is this is too rough and nobody cares, you will absolutely feel that on the back end in availability and interest. The league office knows this. Cathy Engelbert has said so in her way. She's praised the surge as proof that women's basketball is breaking into the mainstream. She's recognized publicly and repeatedly that this young guard brought a wave of casual attention that no marketing budget could buy. She's also been careful to say the quiet part leaders have to say, no league is about one player. That's true in principle. In practice, this season proved the margins can absolutely be about one player. Engelbert's tone has been steady, sometimes a little defensive, but the message has been consistent. The league is reviewing officiating, the league is coaching officials, the league is pushing for better consistency, the league is investing in scheduling and broadcast windows that showcase stars without grinding them down. She's tried to ride both horses at once, celebrate the phenomenon, insist the league is more than the phenomenon, and keep building the middle so everything doesn't collapse when the phenomenon takes a night off. And to be fair, that middle has grown. It's not just vibes. New rights money is real. New windows are real. More network partners are real. Friday showcases are real. Daytime shoulder programming is real. That stuff doesn't happen if nobody's watching. But the spike that came with the star's arrival also lifted expectations so high that any drop now feels catastrophic. That's the weird thing about success. Last year's miracle becomes this year's minimum in the public's mind. When the number doesn't clear that bar, the mood turns in a heartbeat. Think about what the resellers told us without saying a word. Prices collapsing from the 80s into the 20s after a single availability update isn't random. It's cause and effect. It's proof that your average family of four, the one deciding whether to make a night of it, isn't comparing offenses or parsing defensive rating. They're opening an app, seeing a face on a poster and hitting buy or back, based on whether that face will be on the floor. Television told the same story louder because it's scaled. When the casuals couldn't rely on the headliner, they changed the channel. When they changed the channel, social cooled. When social cooled, the conversation drifted. When the conversation drifted, the league's cultural relevance for that week shrank. That's a chain reaction you can't lecture your way out of. You fix it with availability and experience. Now, here's where the grown-up part comes in. Every league that wants to be taken seriously has to protect its draw and build redundancy around that draw. The NBA is the best example. If LeBron misses a month, the Lakers still lead SportsCenter because the Lakers are a soap opera by design, and the league has 20 different storylines running at the same time. If Steph sits, the Warriors still generate content because they're a dynasty with backstory and conflict and a coach who talks like a human. The WNBA isn't there yet. It can get there, but it needs to be intentional. That means making sure the new audience meets 3 more stars the second they walk in the door. It means telling personal stories that stick. It means using every broadcast to introduce someone viewers didn't know they needed. It means putting those faces in consistent windows so a casual fan can build a habit without checking a schedule grid that looks like airline connections. It also means getting the tone right. Fans noticed when some voices tried to police who was a real supporter. That never works. Welcome the tourist. Hand them a map, show them a seat, turn them into locals by giving them something and someone to care about every single week. If the online back and forth gets spicy, the league and teams can set the temperature by example. More humor, fewer lectures, more come sit with us. If a fan arrives for 1 person and stays for 3, you've won. If you chase them for arriving for 1, you've lost them for good. There's also a calendar component nobody likes to talk about. You can't squeeze every marquee into the same 7-day stretch and then act shocked when legs give. Protect the matchups that move needles. Flex them into windows that breathe. Give stars a rhythm the audience can rely on. Make big games feel like events with lead-ups that matter. You don't need a playoff series level of build every week, but you absolutely need a drumbeat. Sports is ritual. People plan around ritual. If you train them to expect a thing on Friday night, they will show up on Friday night. If you move it around and then half the headliners don't play, you train them to stop checking. And yes, you absolutely need a whistle standard everyone understands. Freedom of movement, verticality. No nonsense on the extra contact, review it, teach it, back it up on the floor. One of the fastest ways to turn casuals into critics is to let high contact plays look reckless in slow-mo without visible consequences. That breeds the belief that stars aren't protected, which turns into a belief that nobody in charge can be trusted, which turns into apathy. A league that wants to grow cannot afford apathy. Blow the whistle the same way in May and August. Make it boringly consistent. Players will adapt, coaches will scheme, fans will relax, availability will rise, the game will look cleaner on TV. Everybody wins. Cathy Engelbert's reaction to the phenomenon has been measured, sometimes maddening, and probably correct. She's leaned into the moment to pitch the sport to new partners and bigger platforms. She's reminded anyone who will listen that one player doesn't make a league. She's also acknowledged the pull that one player has had on the entire system. That's a tightrope. When she celebrates the surge, some accuse her of favoritism. When she says the league is more than one name, others accuse her of minimizing the obvious. That's the job. The real test isn't the press conference, it's what the court looks like next month and next spring. Do we see a tighter whistle? Do we see smarter windows? Do we see broadcasts that spend 2 minutes each game making a brand new viewer fall in love with someone new? Do we see the league, teams, and players adopt a more the merrier tone with the flood of new eyes? That's how you turn a spike into a staircase. There's another business layer most fans never see. Rights packages don't just pay for games, they pay for promotion, shoulder shows, big event placement, pop-up features that keep conversation alive between tip-offs. When the week-to-week numbers wobble, partners get conservative with those extras. They'll still show the game, they'll just cut the sizzle. That's where momentum dies. The best counterpunch is obvious. Make it easy to bet on you. Put your best matchups in places where the most people can find them. Back your stars with a consistency of presentation and protection that makes those partners excited to pour more energy into your nights. This is where one availability update can swing not just a rating, but a week of programming around it. When a headliner has to sit, the league should have a baked-in plan that turns the empty space into a feature for the next 3 most compelling faces. Fill the gap on purpose so the narrative never goes dark. If you're a player watching this, you know the stakes. Every extra hit that doesn't get whistled is not just a bruise, it's a ding on the next contract negotiation, because ratings and attendance get cited back at you. Every time a new fan feels talked down to, that's one fewer buyer for your merch. Every time a broadcast goes quiet because nobody knows who to sell without the phenomenon, that's one fewer clip to live online tomorrow. The fixes that protect stars and welcome fans aren't charity. They're the fastest path to bigger paychecks and a longer runway for everyone. If you're a diehard, you also know this is bigger than one name. The surge didn't come from nowhere. It came from a decade of work, the US college pipeline, and a core of pros who put in years building a base. That foundation is why the floor rose, but the spike proved what the ceiling can be when the casuals show up. The mission now is to marry those truths so you never again feel like the entire conversation is chained to a single ankle. And if you're the casual who showed up for the phenomenon, here's the invitation. Keep coming. There's more to see. There's more personality here than you think. There are rivalries brewing that are going to be loud, and there are vets who still cook with a skill level that sneaks up on you. You came for one, you can stay for many. That's how sports becomes part of your week, and not just your timeline. So yes, those letters define the moment, FAFO. The league found out what happens when your main attraction disappears and your systems aren't ready to carry the show for 2 weeks. But the better takeaway isn't a dunk tweet. It's a checklist. Protect the draw, standardize the whistle, flex smart, tell bigger stories, welcome the new fans like you actually want them there. Do that consistently, and the next time the headliner sits, the building won't feel empty, the broadcast won't sound quiet, and the line on the chart won't fall off a cliff. It'll wobble. The way all things wobble, and then it'll steady because you built something that lasts. This is the moment to decide what kind of league you want to be. One that rides a wave until it crashes, or one that learns how to make its own tide. Cathy Engelbert has been clear about the goal even if the path has been bumpy. Momentum that outlives the news cycle. That means turning a phenomenon into an ecosystem. It means being patient and urgent at the same time. It means care for the players on the floor, for the fans in the seats, for the partners who put you in front of millions, and for the story you're telling every single night. The audience just told you what it wants. Give it to them with both hands. Protect your stars, grow your cast. And when the lights go up next weekend, make sure the first thing a casual viewer sees isn't an empty promise. Make sure it's a show. Here's the blunt, fix-it version of what comes next. Because wishing for a miracle return isn't a plan. If you're in the league office right now, you establish a protection standard that everyone can point to in the first paragraph, not the 10th. Write it down, teach it, and make it visible. Explain freedom of movement in plain English, so every fan can see what's legal and what isn't. When a high-contact play happens, don't hide behind jargon. Show the angle, show the rule, show the consequence. Do the same thing in the arenas. A short explainer on the video board turns confusion into understanding. The product immediately feels fairer, and that matters because fairness is the foundation of trust, and trust is the foundation of habit. Habit is the whole ballgame. You also run an independent officiating audit through the stretch run and publish the top-line findings, not to shame anyone, but to prove the standard is real. Bring in a small player coach council to review the spiciest clips weekly. If they flag a pattern, You adjust in daylight instead of whispering about it in a memo. Pair that with a clear league-wide injury reporting cadence. Fans don't expect perfection, they expect honesty. A simple noon update on practice status and availability notes removes rumor as the primary source of news and calms the roller coaster that crushes ticket demand hour by hour. Now the show itself. If you want the casuals to stay when the headliner sits, you need a meet 3 stars rule baked into every broadcast. Not a montage. 3 actual stories with names, stakes, and a reason to care tonight. Give me the vet who's finally healthy and hunting a ring. Give me the rival who hates switching off ball because of a knee history, and what that means late in the fourth. Give me the rookie who grew up watching the very player she's guarding and how that messes with her head on the first 2 possessions. Human hooks beat highlight packages every time, and they make the next game feel like the next chapter instead of a rerun. Schedule like you mean it. Protect the tentpoles with sensible spacing. When you announce a premium matchup, treat it like a holiday countdown graphics. Player features all week, community givebacks in each city, and shoulder programming that makes a casual viewer feel included. Ritual builds audiences. Friday slots, consistent pregame windows, reliable postgame hits that fans can plan around. Use flex options to avoid 3 marquee games cannibalizing each other on the same night. When the centerpiece can't go, you don't cancel the party. You spotlight the next 2 acts and comp the dessert. Fix the tone everywhere. Retire the real fan test permanently. Replace it with a welcome wagon across team accounts that thanks new viewers for showing up and shows them where to sit. Moderate the worst of the online bile with a spine, but keep the humor and the personality. Fans follow fun. If a thread devolves into sneering at newcomers, jump in with a wink and a link to a 2-minute explainer on why tonight matters. Show people how to love this league. Don't scold them for not loving it the right way yet. Lean into the arenas as theaters. Dynamic pricing should have floors as well as ceilings, so you don't train fans to wait for the drop whenever a star is day-to-day. If an availability hit forces a correction, bundle value 2-for-1 kids nights. Meet a player Q&A after the final horn. Behind-the-scenes tunnel cam streaming on the Jumbotron during warm-ups. Make the night feel like an experience, not just a scoreboard. That's how you convert a disappointment into a memory that still pays off next week. Cathy Engelbert's part in this isn't to issue a perfect quote, it's to make decisive, visible moves that signal a new standard. A commissioner can't promise health, but she can promise clarity and consistency. She can put her name on an officiating roadmap with dates, checkpoints, and public reviews. She can convene captains and coaches and tell them on the record that the perimeter will be cleaner, the off-ball grabs won't fly, and the late-game stars will be protected the same in May, July, and September. She can direct partners to invest shoulder programming in 3 to 4 additional faces every week for the rest of the season, and guarantee those segments air even when the headline changes at 3 p.m. She can remind everyone, players, media, and fans, that new audiences aren't a problem to solve. They're the point of the whole exercise. And she can do all of that without downplaying the phenomenon that brought the surge in the first place. Teams have a role too. Build local hero nights that aren't just bobbleheads. Mic up practices for 5 minutes and release a clean, family-safe cut that shows personalities. Invite high school girls teams to walk through film sessions and post their takeaways. Add quick on-court interviews after quarters with one irresistible question that gets clipped and shared. Put 2 players on a weekly livestream breaking down 3 plays from around the league, one that made them laugh, one that made them mad, one they wish they'd made. Make the ecosystem loud even when the main account is quiet. If fans see you opening doors, they come back. And for the players who bristle at being told to market, here's the respectful push. This isn't about becoming influencers, it's about making your work easier to find and easier to love. 1 story per week that reveals something real. A ritual, a superstition, a grudge, a lesson. Makes the fourth quarter feel bigger. The more the cameras don't have to manufacture a reason to care, the more the whistles, the seats, and the screens fall into line. This is the fork in the road. You can let the chart define you, spike, crash, shrug, or you can use the spike to finance systems that keep the line steady the next time the weather turns. Protect the draw and then multiply the draws. Set the standard and then enforce it without theatrics. Welcome the new fans and then hand them 3 new reasons to come back. That's not a miracle. That's a plan. And if the plan becomes habit, the next ratings drop won't be a panic moment or a dunk tweet. It'll be a wobble on a climb that everyone can see. Cathy Engelbert doesn't have to win the internet to win this season. She just has to do the boring, relentless things that build a league sturdy enough to carry a phenomenon rather than be carried by it. Do that now, and the next time the lights come up, it won't matter who's in uniform. It'll matter that the building is buzzing, the broadcast is humming, and the audience already knows who they came to see, even if they only learned the name 5 minutes ago.